What's up, guys? So it's Secret Invasion episode 2 is here, and with this episode we get to learn more about the villain who is Gravik, and especially for what his plans are, and even for the war that he is playing, and even Nick Fury, and even with that mind-blowing reveal, and that tells us of who Nick Fury really is, and even with this war that's about to go down, and especially how it's gonna go down, and especially with the rest of the show as well. And so in this video, it'll be a full spoiler review for Secret Invasion episode 2, and going over everything that went down, including going over the ending. I tell us about what's going on, especially for what we can definitely expect for the rest of the show, and even what the Skrulls involved, and so much more. And so if you're new to the channel and don't saw at this, be sure to subscribe, hit the bell, and so much on video videos like this. And so let's get into it. And now, with this episode, I really like how it opens up in 1995 with the flashbacks with Nick Fury from Captain Marvel, and even what the Skrulls, and so especially as we see then later in 1997 when we see Nick Fury meeting Gravik and reveal that his parents are dead, and even as we see Nick Fury and Talos, and then with that Talos who is then like promised of the Skrulls, they'll find him on their home, is of course referring back to that scene back in Captain Marvel from when Nick Fury and killed Thanos and promised them, and even as well we saw back in the opening of the first episode, but then they failed to do so, and even with the Skrulls who are on Earth, and even with no home. Even with the Fury that promised the Skrulls a new home, but I failed to do so. That this is also it's because of with the Skrulls who were attacked, especially during the Kree War, and even with that promise that I failed to keep, and even so with the Skrulls, I never left without a home, and even I saw this back in the first episode, and now that even with the Skrulls and with this war that is happening. And then we see for that the first episode left off, it's of course Maria Hill who is dead, and then we see Nick Fury being taken away by someone who's revealed to be a Talos, and then we see them all on the train, and they argue, and that with that Talos he has revealed that there is millions of Skrulls walking amongst them, and then they have an argue about how Nick Fury was in contact with Talos, because with Nick Fury, of course, he's been off the grid and in space, and even though he was in contact, and even though with his argument, I caused Talos to leave the train, even so with this war that's going on, and even though with the invaders with the Skrulls and everything else, and even with his argument that we see right here, is of course with Nick Fury who was in contact with anyone. And next we see the funeral for Maria Hill, and then we meet Maria Hill's mom for the first time, and then she questions Nick Fury on how she died, and then he responded by saying that she died in Moscow, and that they were trying to stop the attack is of course with a Gravik setting his war and blowing up parts of Moscow, and even now with a Gravik he is trying to hurt Fury, and even though it's cause he's a reason why Maria Hill is dead, and even though with so that someone is staying trapped, especially as for Fury, especially with this war that is going on, even with that Gravik, definitely set the trap. And from what we could tell with Nick Fury, he's not in good shape, and even though that he has to fight this war on his own, and even with no Avengers or heroes to defend him, and even that he lost some Hill, he is definitely not in the best shape, and he is trying to regain everything that he lost. And then we see a Gravik with the council, and and then he's just sort of revealed for what his plan is, especially with the Skrulls involved, and how his war and his plan is about to go down. And then with the council, and they voted him a general, and which means that like Gravik, that W has control of all people, and especially with everything, and even that like with his war that has going down, and even for what his plan is, and even for what he has, but I'll get to that in a bit. And then it is later than revealed of who Gravik really is, and as well a guy who's on his computer, and then we see a whole list of names that make him a super Skrull, and that's what Luna from Australia like called a Satan and extremist, and plus of course we all knew that he was gonna be a super Skrull, and even like he is gonna have more power, and then he is planning to have this war with like the Skrulls involved, and even now like even with this invasion, and Gravik is delving behind all this, and even with Nick Fury who has to fight this war. And then we see it in the Nick Fury and Rhodey having a conversation, and then with a Fury who's telling Rhodey of who their enemy is, who is a Gravik with the war that he is planning, and with the Fury who is trying to ask Rhodey to help him out, and even with the heroes that can no longer defend Fury with the war, and that has to fight on his own, and even with that soul that was a Roy that he could help him, and then he volunteered to fire Fury, and then even with no heroes that left to defend him, and even Roy who was a part of the United States government, and even with so that everything has changed, and even that I think so much is about to go down. Even with the Fury and Rory who been on each other's sides for all these years, and even with a Rory who's calling Nick Fury out, and then right as he about to step out, he says the most bad line. He says, Nick Fury, when I'm out, I think that's the most grand line that we ever heard from Nick Fury, even though as about to fight a war on his own, especially with the Nick Fury that we know. And now we see Roddy being questioned about Nick Fury's presence in Moscow. That was the day of the attack when Gravik blew those bombs, and then with those photos, they were going to run on Nick Fury to analyze, and even so, and they named the president Rinson, and we saw back in the first episode, and I think there is there'll be something about it to go down, especially with the president that was name dropped. And next we see Sonya investigating the professor who was a Skrull who was working with Gravik, and then she questions him about like many things where Gravik's compound is, and who is leading the science, and then with name that he reveals who is Dalton, and that's a married couple, and that's why we see a guy searching on the computer with the name of Dalton Rosa, and even with this person that exposed their name, and that's what led him to being killed. Especially with a Gravik's compound that is mentioned, which we see here in footage with a Gravik who is being Nick Fury, and even so for like what his plan is, and as that we about to go down with the Skrulls involved, and that's why we're going to see him as like a super Skrull, and it's definitely more powerful. And now let's go over that mind-blowing ending, and as with Nick Fury who arrives at home, and then we see his wife, and then from what is that revealed that she is a Skrull, and that's why we see Nick Fury is a wedding ring, and then even for what this reveal means, that with Nick Fury, that he is definitely a Skrull, and even for what those theories proved all along, especially for for going in the show of who is a Skrull and who's not a Skrull. I think with this ending right here, this definitely proves that with Nick Fury that he is definitely a Skrull. Especially with this being revealed that Nick Fury is definitely closer to the Skrulls, and even with this diving into his personal life, especially with his wife who is a Skrull, and I think this story has got a lot more bigger, especially with a Gravik secret weapon, as he is a super Skrull and has so much more. But I think that it just confirms everything, especially with the Gravik who is a super Skrull, and even Nick Fury who is definitely a Skrull as well, and so as his wife. And yeah, with episode 2 of Secret Invasion, I think I really enjoy this one, especially as I'm more hooked on the villain for who he is and what his plan is. It's especially with the war that's going on involving the Skrulls, and even with Gravik, who is voted general by his own council, meaning that he's more powerful, and even for what is relative to be, especially be a super Skrull, and even with Nick Fury who has to fight this war on his own, especially with there are no heroes left to defend Fury, and even the Rhodey that could help him, and even so with Nick Fury who was on his own, and it's especially with Tails who was no longer with Fury, and I think that's so much more is about to go down near towards the showdown's about to go down, and I can't wait for how it's about to go down as well. And so that is going to be for this video. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments below, and what your thoughts on Secret Invasion episode 2, and give me rating to 1 out of 10. Give this video a like and subscribe and turn on notifications about future videos, and plan updates always follow me on Twitter. And with that, I'll see you guys next video. Peace.